Me browsing the Steam Workshop for Slay the Spire is like Squidward in the Krabby Patty Vault. I can't get enough of it. The mods, specifically character mods, have already given me hundreds of hours of entertainment, and mods are still coming out all the time. One such character is the Adventurer by modding legend Vexed, also known as Vex. Vex spent over 2 years making this character, plus 2 more years of constant updates. Okay, review time. Generally speaking, my criteria for a fair Slay the Spire character review is at least 10 hours in the character and at least 3 corrupt heart kills on Ascension 20 with no other content mods enabled. In the case of Adventurer, I far exceeded those requirements because I love this character. Anyway, the first thing to note is that all Adventurer runs are influenced by something called a Delve bonus. There are many Delve bonuses in the mod that are on a daily cycle by default, but you can change them to be randomly selected every run instead, which is what I would recommend for people who play Slay the Spire all day like I do. Delve bonuses come in 2 parts, a passive effect and an active effect that can be triggered through the Delve keyword, which many Adventurer cards have. Delve bonuses are a simple concept, but make every run feel unique, which drastically improves Adventurer's replayability. Every Delve bonus is creative and distinct from each other, but there is one big problem with Delve bonuses. The balance between them is remarkably scuffed. For example, let's take what I believe to be the most powerful Delve bonus, the Cannon. This causes a cannon to always be with you in combat. Except in Act 4 where it glitches out and the texture disappears, but it's still functional. If you end your turn with at least 1 energy remaining, the cannon will deal 6 damage to a random enemy. Every time you delve, this damage increases by 6 for the rest of combat. This effect is insane. Just 1 or 2 delve cards will solve your Act 1 elites. And if you just keep taking delve cards, you already have a damage solution in place for the rest of your run. Even on Ascension 20, even in Act 4. And believe it or not, the damage potential is the weakest aspect of the cannon. I haven't even mentioned that it shoots lasers, has eyes, and says ya. Most of the other delve bonuses are incredibly weak in comparison to the cannon. To set some context for the next one, the Adventurer starter relic, the Rod, grants 1 extra draw and 1 extra energy on the first turn of combat. It is a very strong starter relic, but the passive effect of the Where It Fell delve bonus says, start with a random common relic instead of the Rod. Even if you get one of the good common relics, such as Lantern, it's usually just worse, sometimes strictly worse, than the Rod. So yes, the passive effect of Where It Fell is horrible and kind of forces you into a boss swap if you want to win, but the active effect must be really good to make up for the weak passive effect, right? No, absolutely not. Delving adds a Star Shard to your hand, which is a free attack that deals 4 damage and provides 3 block by default. This would be an alright effect if the Star Shards exhausted. In any fight that lasts longer than a few turns, Star Shards will just clog your hand, which can, and will, absolutely get you killed. Meaning if you get the Where It Fell delve bonus, you should probably avoid delve cards. I'm not going to be covering all the delve bonuses in this video, just know that the result of your run is massively influenced by which delve bonus you get. When I get the cannon as a delve bonus, I'm like, yeah, thanks! When I get Where It Fell as a delve bonus and my amazing starter relic gets replaced by the boot, my reaction is more like, God damn it, God damn it, God. And yes, I did end up losing that run very quickly. Vex, I will never forgive you for that boot run. Because delve bonuses are present in every run, I would have expected Adventurer's starter deck to include at least 1 card that has the delve keyword on it. But Adventurer only has 1 unique starter card, Cast Line, which shuffles a fish into your draw pile. Fish are awesome. If you enjoy the simplicity of having a finesse or a flash of steel in your deck for an extra boost during your fights, you are going to be thrilled with fish. Fish are free cards that have a minor effect, draw a card, and exhaust. An Adventurer has plenty of ways to generate fish during combat. In theory, they are cards that have no downside, but they can be detrimental against some enemies such as Gremlin Knob, who punishes you for playing certain card types. Not only is the concept of fish super fun, but they also have a rarity system associated with them, so you can get even more dopamine from generating one of the more rare fish during combat. I would say delve and fish are the 2 most prominent keywords for Adventurer, but there are actually several more keywords scattered throughout their cards. One of the things I appreciate most about Adventurer is how simple the keywords are. They are easy to parse and don't require any additional actions from the player. Unlike some keywords. Scry! I would normally criticize the mod for introducing too many keywords, but I give Adventurer a pass because it's clear that Vex's priority was to make the cards as unique and fun as possible, which I believe the keywords play a big part in. However, I will say that there is one keyword that is vastly underutilized. foil. Foil is basically a modifier added to some cards that gives them a shiny appearance, a beautiful color filter, and allows some other cards to interact with them in unique ways. But there's only really 2 cards that have any meaningful interaction with foil cards. I would have loved to see just a few more cards with foil interactions to justify the existence of the mechanic. I have to emphasize how fun Adventurer is. There are many wacky, gimmicky cards, such as Decked Out, a card that's more powerful if you're playing on a Steam Deck, Ends of the Earth, which can be played from the discard pile, Lie, Cheat, and Steal, a set of themed cards all inspired by my ex, Golem Guardian, which is free in shops, and many more that I will not spoil. Despite how zany many of Adventurer's cards are, this mod is surprisingly well balanced. I'd go as far to say they are one of the most well balanced modded characters I've played, if you ignore the whole delve bonus discrepancy thing. I have to assume those 2 years of development time were mainly spent fine-tuning balance, and it definitely paid off. You can win using several playstyles, including leaning into your delve bonus, fish spam, X-cost cards, and more. My final critique is the patch notes. Whenever there is an update for a game or mod, I always search for patch notes so I know what changed. Luckily, each item on the Steam Workshop has a tab dedicated to just that. Now, when Adventurer first released in August of 2022, Vex would update the mod often and put all the changes there. Look at these sweet details. Just 4 months after release, the notes devolved into fixes, removed an unused card, starter card changed, maybe some other stuff. What other stuff? Vex! What the hex? From there, the patch notes never recovered, and all we got for a while was vague lines, until they devolved again, and then again, to the point where we are today. Vex doesn't even know what the mod's version number is anymore. If I had to offer some suggestions for how to improve the Adventurer, I would rebalance the delve bonuses, add a delve card to the starter deck, and add detailed patch notes. Overall, I would give the Adventurer an 8 out of 10. Vex knocked it out of the park with his character. The mod oozes charm, humor, and creativity even if there are some balance flaws and miscellaneous concerns. The Adventurer is so much fun, and if you play them, I guarantee you are going to have a good time. Also, I am going to be creating a booster pack for every Slay the Spire mod that I review, including this one. So to start off, I am proud to announce Adventurer's Lunchbox, a small booster pack featuring 7 new cards of questionable balance, 2 new relics, a new potion, at least 0 new fish, 2 new delve bonuses, and more. There's not actually more, that's about it. The link to Adventurer and Adventurer's Lunchbox are in the description.